All right, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Rakakwadash. I want to say double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And also peace and safety to the Akim that spread across the four corners of the world that's pushing out this truth with all diligence and also putting their lives on the line to do so. I am the brother Karas out here at Great Millstone, Atlanta. And as you can see, on the screen, this was, I believe this was put into effect as of today. Basically going into immigrant, truck drivers who have their CDLs. The government, just basically, put it out that, roughly 200,000 immigrant truck drivers will lose their trucking license, because they don't have the right, paper. And this is, really going into prophecy, which I have the scriptures pulled up, because, we spoke on these things, man. Your normal everyday lives, working your 9 to 5s and, trying to provide for your family, it's gonna come to an end. This devil is bringing it is gonna bring that pressure, and gonna continue to bring that pressure until, he put his plan or tried to put his plan, into effect. All right. So this is I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read, a good bit of it. I'm gonna get a couple of scriptures. But it says, as of March 2026, new federal rules in the United States restrict immigrants without specific work authorization from obtaining or holding commercial driver's license, threatening to remove roughly 200,000 foreign-born drivers. It says, and these are Jake, man. You Israelites, man. You so-called blacks, Latinos and Native Americans, mainly, the Northern Kingdom who's targeted here. Because, the Lord, spoke on these things, man. The curses spoke on it, the curses that the Lord was gonna put up on us, put upon us, for not obeying his law, statutes, and commandments, man. All right. So it says these regulations aim to enhance road safety and security, though they risk severe labor shortages in the industry and higher consumer prices. So these devils are basically, saying that, it's more important to lose, or have, labor shortages, and higher consumer prices, than to have road safety, so to speak, in which, it really doesn't make sense, because how are they pointing, fingers at, these so-called immigrants, for road safety when everybody, is trafficking drugs, accidents, and so on and so forth, but they target, the so-called immigrants, man, or Jake. They rather have labor shortages, and high consumer rates, and lose thousands of jobs, thousands of, people, if not millions of people will be affected behind this, man. It says key aspects of the 2026 crackdown. It says targeted licenses. It says the rules apply to immigrants with temporary protections, including DACA recipients and asylum seekers, preventing them from driving commercial trucks. It says scale of impact. Up to 200,000 drivers could lose their license with as many as 61,000 targeted initially in the states like California, according to Cal Matters reports and NPR reports. Economic consequences. It says industry experts warn this could worsen driver shortages, increase consumer goods costs, and create significant supply chain bottlenecks. So that goes to show you that even, the devil is not letting up on no, corners. The gas prices are rising. You know, due, to this, you know, it says, due to this, food prices could be raised. Your local Home Depots and your everything could be affected by this, man. You know, that's a worldwide industry. Not well, really, yeah, a worldwide industry that's being affected. It says the policy pushed by the transportation secretary and the Trump administration, city safety cites, so like it cites safety concerns and a desire to stop foreign-born drivers from taking jobs, as reported in the Washington Post and Guardian. And how are these people taking how are Jake taking jobs when they are applying for these jobs, man? They're getting approved. It's not like the demand for truck drivers is high. Because America is big. So it's always truck drivers hiring or trucking companies hiring. With to people who have their CDLs, man. It says significant. It says industry role and background. Significant workforce segment. It says before these restrictions, roughly 17 through 18% of U.S. commercial truck drivers were foreign-born, often filling jobs that face severe labor shortages. It says vital to supply chain. Immigrant drivers are integral to the freight industry, often viewed as younger, dedicated workers, notes the National Immigration Forum. Yeah, a specific tribe, Issachar, he is hired, shows you how, hard of a worker they are, and they would work and they would do that for less money, do certain things that other, nationalities or tribes wouldn't do for that amount of money, man. And they completely cutting, these people off, So this devil is tightening down on his plan, and it involves, our people, man. First is the deportation with ICE, and then we had what else? You had the deportation with ICE, which is still going on. You got you have this, then you had the Mexican cartel, which a lot of people was provided, jobs from that. You had you got Trump taking over Venezuela. So Trump is really persecuting these tribes, man, and he's going to continue until the Lord intervenes. Okay. So I'm gonna pull up this scripture in Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 1. It says, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth." Yeah, so the Lord says, remember thy Creator in the days of thy youth, man. It says, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Yeah, so we're supposed to remember Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, while we have the liberty to, before, all hell breaks loose and this devil fully persecutes, the people, man. To where it's not going to be any jobs that's available or any, trucking jobs or warehouse jobs or however you want to see it put. All of it is going to be done. So the Lord said, remember thy creator, man. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. Yeah. It says the grinders cease because they are few. That's going into the work, man. A lot of jobs, are going to be overtaken by AI, robots, computer systems, and we see that on the short, scale right now, man. You go to certain fast food restaurants, those jobs, like cashiers, janitors, are being overtaken by robots, man. Delivery drivers, Uber drivers. A lot of AI has already taken a lot of these jobs over, man. Okay. So it says the grinders is on the cease, man, because it is few. It says, and took those that look out of the windows be darkened. It's like, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Yeah, the grinding, is low, man. This is an example of it, man. A lot of these truck drivers, that's all they have. They came over to America, solely, basing their, their livelihood, on and providing for their family with doing that job, man. And just like that, their license is snatched and their jobs are snatched away from them, man. All right, this how quick this devil can move, man. Matter of fact, since I said that, I'm gonna get that in Revelation 12 and verse 12. I'm gonna close up here. This wasn't a quick lesson, just quick hitter. It says, Revelation 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So when someone knows they have a short time, they try to take advantage of, the time that they have. And what more so Esau, being in his rulership, he's trying to take full advantage of it. All right. So that's where the total control, the persecution of Jake, the mark of the beast comes into effect. And this devil coming down with taking the job, taking these countries over, it all falls in line. All right. And it's going to be more, our apostles and elders have been saying that for years now. There's going to be more jobs that's being taken away, more, people sent, to back to their so-called homes or their so-called countries, man. Because that's what the Lord, prophesied, man. So I just wanted to touch on that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'm going to go ahead and close up by giving all praises, honor, and glory into Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, by Shem Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And until the next time, Shalom.